You are entering the cosmos.
Hello, cadets. This is General Lemuel T. Howitzer from the Big Monster Briefing Room, and this is episode 50. We made it to episode 50, folks. What can I say? Cadet Phipps is already in the room. Salute to you, sir. I'm sure Cadet Ross will be joining us in the very near future. So in any case, hello to my able-bodied assistant, who I know is watching from a sideline here. That's Major Millie Hazzard.
Hello, General. I'm very, very pleased to be here with you. And of course, Cadet Ross did show up exactly when you mentioned, so we want to greet him, and Cadet Phipps and Cadet 7 is here as well. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, awesome. That's a great start. And this is an interesting show because I decided for the 50th show, we know a guy named Rory Penland. And he's a multi-talented guy. You know, he does voices. He's the man of 1,000 voices. He's a singer. He does Roy Orbison and Frank Sinatra and stuff like that, which I like. You know, that's from my generation. And talking about my generation. Huh? One more time.
He's absolutely iconic. He's a legend. He's an amazing comedian. He's a writer. He's an actor. He does it all. He's an impressionist comedian. Everything you want to know about. And a show host. He hosts It's Casual, and he hosts Painting with Rory. He's also a painter. He's a visual artist.
Right.
He's got a lot going on.
So anyway, back in 2002, he wrote a training film called Deadly Species. And it was released by Artisan Films, which released the Blair Witch Project. They shortly went out of business after Deadly Species was released. That does not bode well. The movie got mixed reviews, shall we say. Some fans thought it was interesting and they liked it, and some fans were like, this is B film. But again, it got made. The film was based here in Florida, and it takes place in the Everglades, and it got made. So, you know, I mean, and it got released by Artisan Films. So that is quite an accomplishment.
This was the same company that did Blair Witch, right?
Correct.
Remind everybody about Blair Witch. This was a
iconic,
groundbreaking film, Blair Witch, where it was very realistic, hyper realistic, and very, very scary. It's like, you know, pre-social media, but you felt like you were right there, like you were in somebody's live stream. It was incredible.
Well, actually, it was one of the first films to use social media to promote the hype. And it was a great campaign. It worked. And that's how that film got bought by Artisan Films for, like, I think it was $1 million. Was what these guys, Sanchez and his partner, made from that film. And again, it was a kind of a improvisational experiment, and it was very creepy. If you haven't seen it, it's very creepy. But keep a bag next to you if you watch it, because you know there's all the shaky camera movements gonna make you sick.
Shaky.
Anyway,
everything was shaky after that for a good decade. Everything went shaky after that. That's the reason everything went shaky. But,
everything went shaky after that.
But talk about Artisan and Deadly Species now. How did they get, what was that relationship, and how did they meet?
I'm not going to go into it because there were some legal issues as to there was another company that bought it and then sold it to Artisan Films, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in any case, Rory Penland, I talked to him this week about doing this for the 50th show, and he's like, "Oh, that's fantastic. I will contact everybody that I know that was involved in the film, and I'll get you some guests on the show." And nobody returned his messages except one person, the star of the film, Pete Penuel. contacted him back and said, "Oh my gosh, I would love to do it, but I'm going to be on an airplane at the time that you're doing the show." He said, "It sounds like a lot of fun." And unfortunately, he couldn't be on the show. That would have been a really fun show, too, with Pete Penland, because he's a nice guy, really nice guy, nice actor. He's like a Tom Hanks actor here in Florida. Yeah. So everybody likes working with him, and he's just a nice guy. So anyway, he's on a plane right now. Safe journeys to Pete Penland. Nobody else. The director, the producer, one of the producers he reached out to, one of the actresses he reached out to, they didn't unfortunately return his messages. So now he's embarrassed to come on the show live and face the crowd. But I talked him into at least recording some videos about his experience with this movie when it was being made. He sent me 3 videos, which we were going to show you right now, about the making of Deadly Species.
This is Rory Penland, everybody.
Yes.
The writer.
Yes.
I originally wrote Deadly Species as an homage to some of the monster films of the 50s, like The Creature from the Black Lagoon, where people go into uncharted area and then they find a monster. That's how it began. Again, it was kind of homage to that. So in this, they say write what you know. In Florida, there's a huge uncharted area down in South Florida called the Everglades. A lot of it is just, it's just swampland. So I thought we could shoot that here in Florida and it'd be easier. The original script that I turned into director Daniel E. Springen, who I was introduced to by an artist, a makeup artist named Daniel Ingraham. That script was Revenge of the Hook, which was about the famous "and on the car door handle was the hook." That what happens after that. that was the movie. And Springen really liked the idea, but unfortunately, we couldn't find a producer that put up the money for that kind of film. It was going to cost a lot more money. So I said, well, I've got this other one that takes place outside, and it's a minimal cast, and it's got a monster, and I've got it ready to go. And that's how it all began. The part of Laird Klieger, which the photographer was I actually wrote that for myself, and I auditioned for it, and unfortunately I didn't make it. I guess they didn't think that my acting ability was good enough to be in the movie, and they cast somebody else in that part. Originally, instead of airboats, we were supposed to take a giant raft setup to this uncharted island in the middle of the Everglades, and there was a character who was a kind of a sleazy, slimy Cuban guy who was had people trade him things if they couldn't pay him to take them over to this island place where the Calusa Indians' magical fountain of youth was. But they didn't think that worked very well. So again, Bill Suchy, another writer, was called in to rewrite. That was axed, and they went with the easier airboats. The creature in this movie was supposed to be called a heffigator. And it was supposed to be a half man, half alligator creature. It had a long alligator snout head, so it looked like an alligator. Again, there's another movie back in the 50s, The Alligator Man, something of that nature with Lon Chaney. Again, this was kind of homage to that. And he had a long scorpion tail. It was a freak of nature, created by nature, that we hadn't found yet. That was the cryptozoology angle of it. This was a creature that nobody had ever found yet. Again, Brian Minyard as Wilson Friels, the antagonist of the film, who schedules the party. He's a game hunter. He wants to bag the creature, because he's heard stories about it. So. But in any case, they couldn't afford that. We tried, a makeup artist tried and failed to create that. And then we went to the Joe Blasco studio, and they made a creature that looked kind of like a Bigfoot with the big teeth and the big claws. And it was a very scary looking creature when they were done with it. So that's how that changed.
Okay. Well, thank you, Cadet Ross, for that. I think I'm quite handsome and dashing. But
the resemblance, I've noticed that as well.
Yeah, separated at birth.
Yeah, maybe distant cousins.
There we go. Okay, so again, we've got the setup now. This is a group of people that go out into the Everglades, and they run into a monster, which is a freak of nature. And that's how we get started with this. Let's go get that timeline underway. Dirty Martini Productions. That's the people that originally produced this. And again, it eventually went to Artisan Films. And this is Maggie Warren. She is a somebody who has been sent out by Wilson Friels to inspect this area, to check this area out. One of the other things that they're trying to find is remnants of a lost tribe of Indians called the Calusa Indians. And this was actually added to the screenplay, Rory told me, by Daniel Espring, and the director. He did some research on Indians in South Florida and found the Calusas and added that to the actual mix. I think Rory was going to call it the Chinichiwo tribe or something like that. He made up a fictitious tribe. And Springen said, hey, no, let's go with a real tribe that can be researched and found. Let's go with the Calusas. So she's there looking at that. And at the beginning of the film, she's running. And she's got this guy who's protecting her, and he's running, and they're screaming at each other, and it's very frantic. And she falls down, and she tells him, "Look out!" And he gets hit, and he gets dragged off into the woods by something we can't see. And then she runs around one of those big, it looks like a kind of a cypress tree kind of thing, big thing. This was actually shot behind a campus in Orlando, Florida. They had these woods behind the campus that had these, I mean, very interesting Floridian type, palmettos and the big swamp stumps that come out of the ground. So there she is, and the creature reaches around her and yanks her out of the picture. And that's the opening of the film. That's the opening scene. Maggie Warren gets caught by a creature. Well, thank you, Tom Cheshire. I'm sure he appreciates that. Deadly Species. These credits were put on the film by the company that bought it from Dirty Martini, I think. And there's Rory Penland's credit, writer Rory Penland and Bill Suchy. This is not the only movie that Penland made. A couple of years later, in 2004, he made a video movie called Ghost House, which he broke up into 3 parts, and you can find those 3 parts if you look up Ghost House on YouTube. And Penland actually stars in that one as well as directed it. So here we see in the credits that some of the find of the Calusa Indians that Maggie Warren has found. There's Madeline Moniz. She won the prize, the Lars Nagel CD last week on Rory's Painting with Rory. Here we meet Pete Penuel as... oh my God, I can't remember the character's name now. Let me get my other phone. Thank you, IMDb. He is a teacher, a professor at a college. And he is trying to get a expedition. Brinson Thomas. Brinson Thomas is his name. Trying to get an expedition out into the Everglades to find remnants of the Calusa tribe. And he believes that they might still be out there, living out there. So, but the board at his school just thinks it's too expensive, and they turn it down. So no field trip. And he tells his wife, the lovely Allison Adams, who plays Marta Thomas, that it's been shot down again. So we don't get a lot of monster in the first half of this film. we get a few glimpses of him looking at them through the trees. There's a little nudity scene that was thrown in. This is Brian Minyard over the right hand side there. I know you're not looking in that direction, but he is playing Wilson Friels, who is a millionaire, and he's a big game hunter. And he says, "Make me another dirty martini. I'm gonna call Brinson and fund his expedition." Because, we haven't heard from Maggie Warren in a couple of weeks now, and I think we should send another expedition in there to find out what the hell's happening. Excuse excusing myself, General. I don't want to. I can't read that.
It says, excusing, I'll translate it. It's okay. Excusing myself, General. I don't want to compromise the security of you and Millie. I'm cleaning my tracks behind me.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for sharing.
We do appreciate that. We definitely appreciate that, Cadet Ross. Thank you so much.
So Wilson Friels calls up the Mr. Thomas, and he's got him on speakerphone, and he tells him, I'm going to fund your expedition. And Brinson is ecstatic. He's very happy. He tells Marta. They pop open a bottle of celebratory libation, and he decides that he picks his team out. This is here's the students that are going to come with us on this romp into the Everglades. So now Wilson talks to his security guy, his bodyguard, played by Jeff Brozovich. His name is Derek. And he actually, I know this for a fact. I talked to Rory about this. This guy actually played Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator show at that time at Universal Studios in Florida. And you can see the resemblance. He looks a lot like Schwarzenegger. So, yeah, see? So now the team meets up the next day at Brinson's house. This was a house owned by Ray Hetzel, who is an antiques collector on the Florida West Coast. It was also the house that was used in Penland's next film, Ghost House. This is the Ghost House. So just to let you know, little trivia there. And that is Will Cephalo playing Todd and Samara Ibanez playing Nichelle. There was some nudity just before this. The nudity was requested by producer Rick Warren of the film, who put up a good portion of the money for this film. He wanted it to be bankable. He wanted to make his money back. And that seemed very important to him. That's what Penland told me. And there they are at, okay, here's what Rory Penland was talking about with the airboats. They actually decided to go with airboats instead of a raft situation that's pulled across on a rope to get to the island, this mysterious island in the middle of the Everglades. So yes, Penland wrote this film, Deadly Species. That's why it's on episode 50 of the Big Monster Briefing Room. Friels shows up and they're surprised to see him, and they're like, "Oh, you've come to see us off?" And he's like, "No, I'm going to join your expedition," which even surprises them more. Brinson is not crazy about the idea, but it's the guy that gave him the money to go on the expedition, and he reminds him of that. So, and he keeps reminding him of that throughout the film. He's kind of a butthead, which is, what antagonists are. So, again, a lot of value was added to this film with these scenes of the people riding around on the airboats. It actually, and I'll tell you, the reason this movie looked as good as it was because of the cinematographer. The cinematographer was, give me 1 second here, Stephen something. Cinematographer was Stephen Campbell. Stephen Campbell evidently has done a lot of films, and again, he made this film look like $1 million, even though it was shot for under 100,000, I believe. If I'm correct. I might be incorrect on that, but it was shot for definitely under $1 million, well under $1 million, and it looked like $1 million because he made it look really good. So in any case, it's a slick-looking training film. This is Britt George playing Klieger, the character that Penland wrote for himself. Laird Klieger. Laird Krieger was an actor back in the, I think, the 1920s and 30s, and he was in one of the Hitchcock films as like a kind of a serial killer. And Penland wrote that name. He kind of adjusted it just a little bit. It was kind of homage to him. There's the airboat heading off, and they're in the airboats enjoying themselves. The Thomases, you can see Wilson Friels over their shoulder. And Derek, and the girl on the right, is actress Britt. Heather Patrone. Heather Patrone, and she played Laurie in the film. And here they are coming up onto the land. And again, this actually added a lot of credibility to this film. You know, as it was a low budget B film, this actually added a lot of cinematic value to the film. So now they're on this island, and we're seeing the creature watching them through the shadows, watching them through the palm fronds. And it is a gnarly creature created by the Joe Blasco group of Central Florida. And they now have a studio in Atlanta as well. They make monsters. So, and as I said, this is kind of like a hairless Bigfoot. So we'll see more of it later, and its gnarly teeth and its big long claws. You can see those stumps sticking out of the ground there as they walk through the swamp there. And again, this was all shot behind one of the campuses here in Orlando, on the east end of Orlando. I want to say University of Central Florida, but I'm not sure if that's correct or not. Again, if I'd had anybody from the production staff here, they probably could have answered that question, but they didn't answer. So, okay, the expedition is underway now. They're in the Everglades. The students and their instructor and the millionaire and his bodyguard. And they're set up their camp at night, their first night. And Wilson Friels tells them stories of how he got some very rare manuscripts that Brinson himself was trying to get his hands on but couldn't. But because Friels is a millionaire and money talks, he was able to get them. And he tells them stories of the Calouse Indians and a sacred place where they went to get sacred water in a sacred urn. And there was supposedly a monster guarding that sacred place. It's called the Mouth of Hell, or the Devil's Mouth. And the cast listens to Friels as he tells his tales, and it's kind of like a ghost story around a campfire kind of scene. And Minyard is actually very good as the villain in this. He really is. He does an admirable job as playing a nasty. They're all watching him, all interested. There's one other actress here whom I did not mention. That's the one on the left there on the right picture. Christina Moore plays Allison. Christina Moore is the one in the middle there next to Heather Petroni. So they're all listening. And again, it's a kind of a creepy night around the fire the first night. And they're being watched. Again, there is something outside the camp that's looking in. It's watching them very carefully, waiting for one of them to move away from the group so it can kill. And there he is. I guess you can't see the eye in that picture. I'm sorry. Maybe on the computer you can, but I can't see an eye on my phone. So the next day they head out again. And again, Pete Penuel and Allison Adams do a marvelous job as the husband and wife team who lead this group, the Thomases. Bang up job as actors. You know, usually in these films you don't get really good acting, especially if it's a low budget film. But these guys did a wonderful job. They really did. Again, as training films go, this is not a bad one. I mean, this is pretty slick looking, and there's some good acting. There's some interesting twists and turns in the writing. Some by Penland, some by the Bill Suchy, the guy that came in to rewrite the script. I want to give credit where credit is due, as we were dealing with a film that's close to home here. And they run across Maggie Warren's backpack, which has her journal in it. And Allison is checking out a piece of pottery there, and Wilson Friels takes it from her. And he's looking at it, and he's showing it to Derek. And she's like, hey, what the hell? This guy. And again, he grabs Maggie Warren's journal, which he does not share with the rest of them. And they keep moving on, and they find Maggie Warren's campsite, and it's been trashed. It's destroyed. Something has just torn this place up and down and apart. So again, Friels and his bodyguard, they're kind of nodding to each other knowingly. The rest of them, I have no idea what the hell's going on. And they find some digs for the Calusa Indians outside and inside some tents, which are very interesting to Brinson and his wife. And Samara sees a dismembered leg, and she freaks out. And they say that it's a female leg, although it doesn't look it. Sorry. And there it is. So this is our first body part of the film. And by the way, we do spoilers on this show. We do a timeline from the beginning of the movie to the end, so it's going to be spoilers. Also, we show things on this. This show is not for kiddies. Okay, we show things in this movie that are graphic and gory. Yes, so it's a warning to you that you're going to see kind of bloody stuff in this. It's not real bloody stuff; it's movie bloody stuff. But this is not for kids.
No, this is for cadets. This is for everyone here. Remember, we're the last line of defense. We're trying to train you. These are not movies. They're training films, trying to educate the public of how you can protect yourself in the event of a big monster attack. Unfortunately, it does happen, and these films are there to prepare us.
And again, we're talking about a mutant here that lives in the swamp. So there it is. So, yeah, they're a little shaken by finding body parts in the camp, or one body part, to be exact. Brinson's beside himself. He doesn't know what's going on. Allison tells Will, where is Todd? As he's checking the camp generator. That, hey, be careful of Wilson Friels and his assistant. There's something not right there. She suspects that there's something afoul right away. So he's like, yeah, okay. I think I can get the generator running, which is nice. So they can have lights and stuff in the camp at night. Then Allison finds the main dig, where there is a skeleton who is obviously a conquistador, has a conquistador sword stuck through his midsection. Why the person would leave that sword stuck in the person to rot in the ground, not sure. But there it is. It looks interesting. So there's the carcass. And again, it looks very realistic. It is a very nice prop job. Again, but they left the sword sticking. They didn't take their sword with them. Whoever killed him, they just left it there. You know what? I'm just going to leave it here in his body, out of respect, and let the ground cover him up over hundreds of years. I don't know. So Brinson and his wife are very excited about the find. Again, the conquistadors came into Florida many years before, settlement, and they dealt with the Indians in the area. And again, there are stories of the Fountain of Youth, and here we talk about Fontaneda, who is supposed to be the guy that led the Spaniards in this trip into Florida. I think it was Ponce de Leon, though, who actually was the guy in the history books. I'm not sure why they changed it to Fontaneda, but Penland didn't tell me that. But there it is. So Marta goes down by the water, and Brinson and Derek go down there by her, and she overhears them say, "No, this isn't it," and they walk away. So what they're talking about is the Fountain of Youth, the magic waters that are protected in this area by the monster. They find a magic urn, or a sacred urn, I should say. This was something that was thrown into the script by the director, Daniel Lee Springen. The Calusa Indians would go into this area with a sacred urn, and the monster would not attack them if they had the sacred urn. I guess he threw this in to justify later Marta getting away from the creatures at the end of the movie. But and there's the creature watching them still. And again, we get a little more creature face each time we see the creature's face looking through the palm fronds, those Spanish bayonet palms. And then Marta, as they're looking around the camp, stumbles across what looks to be a gateway with skulls on trees and different, things, bones and things on trees, 2 trees that are framing an area of water. And this is what Friels is looking for. And he says, excellent job. You've found the gateway to hell. This is a significant find. But he doesn't say anything about the Fountain of Youth, or any of that. That doesn't come until later. And she puts some red tape there next to it to mark the area in the find, and he takes the tape off after she walks away. Suspicious. But she knows where it is. She's remembered where it is. She's no dummy. So this is east of the camp. And again, he's very happy. So they go back and they talk about it in the camp. Brinson and Todd there. And Allison. And Friels tells a little more about the Calusa Indians at this point. He gives them a little bit at a time to keep them going, basically, to keep them moving forward and not get scared of the fact that there's probably a monster in the area. So, yeah, they're moving about camp. Something's still watching them. I believe what's coming up is that Todd is still working the generator, or he's refilling the generator with gas, I believe. Let's move forward just a slide or two, maybe. Creature's watching. Yeah, and then Heather, Lori, comes up to Todd and goes, hey, I feel disgusting. And she's been kind of hitting on him in front of his girlfriend blatantly throughout the beginning of the film. And she goes, I want to go down to the river and wash, but you got to come with me. We don't want to be alone. So she goes down to the river to wash. And of course she's throwing her clothes at him and she's cooing and, he's embarrassed. He doesn't know what to do, where we're going to turn. So he turns to the right as she walks down to the water to bathe herself. And again, more nudity, and very good nudity, I might add. I guess I should say. But then he turns to the right, and boom, there's his girlfriend. Oh, he's busted. Nichelle is right there. So she goes, fine. Oh, great, and she stomps off, and he goes after her, leaving Lori alone. So we get our first kill in this party. Lori becomes creature fodder. The creature sees, goes after her. He comes back because he hears her scream. And he's like, Lori! And then the photographer comes up and he goes, hey, what's that over there? By the way, the photographer is sleazy and he's a wisecracker. He's making jokes the whole time, about mosquitoes carrying them away and stuff like that. And he's just snarky. And they find a bloody towel, which is Lori's towel. So, and that's Brinson finds that, and it's pretty confirmed. There's blood all in the water too. That Lori's gone. She's been taken by this monster. So, Derek, looking around, finds a track from the monster and measures it with a knife that he has on hand. And it's a nasty 3-toed track. Again, this is a heffigator. It's supposed to be half man, half alligator, although it looks kind of more like a Bigfoot. And so he's got the track now, and he shows it to Friels. He gets Friels to come down and take a look at it, so that they know, oh yeah, the creature's real. We're dealing with the creature. Yeah. So this is probably what happened to Maggie. And then Allison finds Maggie's journal in Friels' tent, and she shows it to Brinson. And Brinson starts to read Maggie's journal, about what happened with the creature a few weeks earlier. So we get a flashback of Maggie dealing with the fact that people from her group are getting picked off one by one. And she's really worried that it's going to kill her and the last guy that's with her in the trip, who we saw at the beginning of the film. And they confront Friels with it. You knew there was a monster here and it was hunting people, and you didn't tell us. And he goes back, well, you know what? Guess what? You're going to have to stay here because we can't get back to the airboat's not coming back to us until Monday, a couple of days from now. And you're going to need my guns, and you're going to need Derek and mine's protection. And they're not happy about that. And he's becomes a real asshole by saying, well, hey, I might have put up the money for this, but this is still your trip, Brinson. So anything that goes wrong on this trip, it's on you. Which is really a douchebag thing to say, but anyway, it's great. It makes him even nastier, and it makes you hate him even more. So, and again, Brian Minyard, excellent job of getting these lines out and just making him a total slime ball. So he comes on to Allison, who's not happy, and she holds a knife up to his neck and says, "Nah, don't even. I don't want you coming to my tent tonight. Just don't even. I'll cut you up." And he goes, "You might change your mind." And again, even sleazier. What a bad villain. What a nasty villain. So Allison, that night, hears things stomping around outside her tent. She's like, I'm not gonna deal with this anymore. The next day, she packs up. She goes, "I'm leaving. I'm gonna take my chances. You guys, you can stay here, but I'm gonna get away from this place." So she carts off, and Brinson starts suiting up to go after her, but she's got a head start on him. And she goes out into the jungle, and the monster's watching her, and she sees it watching her. She freaks out, and it comes after her and kills her. Where can we watch this? This is not an easy film to find. There's like a monster compilation movie set you can buy at Amazon.com, which has like 9 or 12 movies on it, and Deadly Species is one of them. So if you do a search on Amazon, you can probably find it in that movie package with the DVDs. It's like 3 DVDs with like 9 movies on it or something, and or eBay. But it's very hard to find Deadly Species out there. Again, it was released in 2002. And after a couple of years, it just kind of started to taper off. People stopped seeing it. It ended up in the bargain bin at Walmart for $3.99 for a while, and then after that, it just disappeared. And now it's in. You can find it in compilation monster movie sets. Where you get like 9 movies for $10. So, again, it's worth a watch. As monster movies go, it's not the worst. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. And the monster goes after her. There he is. And we finally get our first full shot of the creature in his body as it comes after her. And again, it's all very fast, very smash cut. This timeline is actually made from a VHS copy of that film that Penland had. And he loaned me that to make the timeline with. So now they're going to set up a laser perimeter around the camp. It's not, it's laser in the fact that if you break the laser, it'll show you on a computer that something has broken into the camp. So it's not like, what was the movie with the gorillas? Congo, where they were actually, if they break the laser thing, the laser guns actually shoot at it. That would have been cool, but they can't afford that. So, so this is just to show you that something is in the camp. So Brinson goes out looking for Allison, and he stumbles across Allison, and he gets blood on his hands from her backpack, and he sees her head. Her head is right there in the bushes next to his feet. So she's gone. The creature just decimated her. So now it's raining. Derek is showing the kids how to use the perimeter setup around the camp, and Brinson comes back, and he is just he can't believe, he's just in shock. He's grief-stricken because again, 2 people from his party now have died because of this creature, and he's going to have to explain that to their parents. So he comes back. He's covered in blood. And they're all like, "Oh, what happened? What happened?" He's like, "Allison, the creature got Allison." So not a fun time. And again, more arguing and bickering. That night, Brinson feels better, and he comes out to Todd, who is watching over the camp perimeter. He's taking the first shift in the night until 2 a.m. And something gets into the perimeter. So they go looking out at that side of the camp. They're flashing flashlights around. I don't know why they don't have the high-powered flashlights, like the searchlights. That would make more sense. Anyway, but there it is. So there's the photographer hoping to get a shot of the creature. There's Todd with his handheld flashlight. If that were me, I'd be taking them searchlights, damn it. And yeah, there's something crunching around out there. So they shoot, man. They, whether it's a black bear or whatever, they're shooting out there. And it's beautiful. It's great. There you go. Shoot the hell out of the whole ground. Waste all your ammo. You brought plenty of ammo. Come on. And Brinson is sure that they killed it. He's like, I'm certain. We don't hear anything, so I'm certain we killed it. We got it. We'll in the morning when the light comes up, we'll go get my trophy. That kind of thing. So Todd goes back to watching the perimeter. His girlfriend, despite the fact there's been a couple of deaths, is feeling like she wants a little Ficky Waka, I'm guessing. She's going and cooing in his ear while he's supposed to be watching, the perimeter. But again, there's a large siren that goes, or loud enough a beep from the computer or siren that it warns you if something has broken the perimeter of the camp. So, wow, chicka wow, 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 chicka wow. Thank you, Rick Warren. By the way, if you notice that Todd's hair is a little different, the actor, Will Cephalo, who was Todd in this film, shaved his head for another part. And then they had to call him back in to do this scene, redo this scene, and he had to wear a wig. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. Penland just shared that amusing story with me, and I thought I'd share it with you. You probably wouldn't have noticed it if I hadn't told you. Really good wig. So anyway, there was one other shot in the movie where he goes down on one knee, and like when they found Maggie Warren's backpack, and he's wearing that wig. And again, they tried to cover it with palm fronds and stuff, so you can't see it clearly. But there it is. Meanwhile, while they're doing the Ficky Waka on the ground, while they're having, while they're kissing and making out, Klieger is videotaping the whole thing with his digital camera. This is one of the first digital cameras, by the way. This was done in 2002, so that was one of the first digital video cameras. Just a little tidbit there. So he's real sleazy. Again, some of these characters just not nice. Not nice. But that's interesting. Okay, so in the next shot, we see the creature up in a tree, high up in a tree. These things can climb trees, and look at the claws on that thing. It's like it's got claws like a koala bear. Look at that. The deadly, dangerous koalas. So he's got a little bit of everything in him as far as species. He is a deadly species. He's got koala claws. He's got Bigfoot head. He's got scaly skin. He's a little mix of everything. Hello, Sandy D. Welcome. Welcome to this training film, Deadly Species. Nice picture of the creature. And just when you think the creature's going to attack, Derek shows up. And he's like, it's my shift. Ha, 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 ha.
I just love this shot. This is an incredible angle. I just love it.
That was Stephen Campbell, the cinematographer, I guess, made that decision.
It is just fantastic. You can just feel what they want you to feel. It's amazing.
Sloth claws. Yeah, that's sloth claws for you. He's an angry koala. There it is. Angry, deadly koala. Yeah, we could take that creature and go to Australia and make a film. The Deadly Koala Man. That would work. Just change the head. Let me talk to the guys in the training film in the Joe Blasco studio. So anyway, Derek takes over the perimeter, I should say, not Todd's girlfriend, Nichelle. And let's go ahead to the next slide. And again, they're embarrassed and they get up and they move on. They move around to the other side of the tent. And then the creature attacks. So he pushes Nichelle out of the way. She's got a gun, his gun. He pushes the creature, or he pushes his girlfriend out of the way as the creature attacks. The creature claws his midsection, knock him over to the ground. Nichelle shoots the thing because she's still got a gun. But Todd's gone. Todd's been clawed by this thing. She shoots the thing and the thing runs off into the woods. Now, Todd's, this is his midsection all clawed up like it is. There's some black viscous fluid moving around, and it's like a poison, and it's dissolving his entrails. So it's just tearing him. It's just dissolving him all of it. It's like, what the hell are those spiders? The brown recluse spiders kind of thing. Anyway, it's got this poison on its claws, and it's a mess. So Klieger's trying to get a video, and they're like, Klieger, get the hell out of here. And he's like, I got what I wanted. And they just can't believe what's going on with Todd's body. And Brinson gets a little too close as he's inspecting and nicks his wrist, and some of the poison gets in his wrist. And he's been infected with the poison. Just a little bit though, but it's in his system. The poison is within him. So it's going to cause a problem later. But he's keeping it a secret. He's hiding it for now. So they meet up with Friels again, and they're shouting back and forth. And he's telling him, you're going to have to listen to me because I'm the guy that has the guns, and we're going out looking for the Fountain of Youth. He finally says he's looking for the Fountain of Youth. And she's like, you're crazy. You're absolutely insane. He goes, no, it's real. I've got the proof in the journals that I found. And I sent Maggie out here to look for it, and Derek and I are going to go find it, because if I can synthesize that, it means immortality for mankind, and that's worth zillions. So there it is. So he leaves the camp. They find more tracks. Him and Derek. There's a better version of the track. And, the Thomases are not happy that they've been left without weapons in the camp by themselves, by Friels and Derek. Or actually, they probably have weapons, but they need, as many people together as they can. So when they don't find the body of the creature, because they think that, Todd's girlfriend, Nichelle, shot it in the face, or so Friels thinks. Oh, and this is also when he says, the creature is a mutant. It's not a whole bunch of creatures. It's just one mutant that has lived, all this time, from the waters of the River Jordan, whatever he calls it. And that's what they're hunting. And when they kill it, that's it. They've got immortality. So they go back. They get yelled at again for leaving. He says, duly noted, but we're going out again. You have to come with us if you want protection. And that's when Brinson collapses from the poison. And they can see that the poison is now moving up his arm and into his shoulder. And his wife takes him. This is where they're with Nichelle. She's freaked out because her boyfriend died in front of her by being killed by a monster. And they're trying their best to console her. And let's keep moving forward. And the creature's watching. He's watching from the trees. And this is how they find out how he gets into the camp perimeter without, without showing them, without breaking the camp perimeter laser thing. He jump around through the trees like a gorilla, like an orangutan. So he actually lays into Nichelle and just chows down on her. And before Derek and Friels can come with his guns, and he grabs Nichelle's body and carts it off. I mean, just takes off running into the woods as if she weighs nothing. So Derek and Friels shoot after it. Brinson's like, wait a minute, you might shoot Nichelle. And he's like, if that creature's got her, you better hope that we shot her. That kind of thing. Nasty. So that's another student killed. And the monster looking at him from out in the woods. Well, thank you, Cadet MM. I'm glad you enjoyed this part. So, yeah, the human story, I mean, you don't see the creature a lot in this film. That's one of the downsides of this film. You don't see a lot of creature. You see more human story and more conflict with the humans than anything else. So the creature runs off again. They don't have a dead body to show. And that's when Brinson collapses. And they realize there's something wrong. Sorry. I guess I don't know this film is as good as Penland does. So, yeah, Marta. Here's the thing that surprises me is that he's poisoned, and yet she is all over him like a cheap suit, which means she can be poisoned. But luckily, she doesn't catch it. She doesn't get any poison on her or in her. But she goes out and punches Friels in the face the next morning. And he's like, I guess you thought I deserved that. And she's like, yeah, I did. Showing a very tough lead female character now. And he says, I'll tell you what, let's go out to that place that you found where the water is. We'll take the water back to Brinson and it will cure him, because it's supposed to have medicinal quality. So, and I will get some that I can bring back with me for medicinal purposes to synthesize, and everybody's happy. Okay, no mention of monster at this point, but he knows how to push her buttons. He knows how to get her to move forward. So they go out to look for the Mata Diabelle, the mouth of hell, and keep moving forward. And keep moving forward. And she takes the urn with her. Not sure why she knows to do that, but she takes the urn with her. And they go out looking for the mouth of hell. Klieger is there as well, the photographer. He's hoping to get a picture of the monster, a good picture of the monster, and a picture of this mouth of hell. And when they get there, Friels goes immediately for the water. He's putting it in a canteen of his. Klieger's taking pictures of the whole thing. And he says, this is the when man earns immortality. And of course, that's the line that, always brings a monster out to kill you. When man tries to play God, that's when God fights back. And of course, a creature shows up. There he is. I'm not going to let you take that water. What are you, crazy? And another creature shows up. And that's two creatures. And another bunch of creatures shows up. So they knock Derek down, kill him. We don't actually see that death. That's a surprise. That's surprising. It's just camera work. One creature goes after Allison, Marta, She's got the magic urn, though, so it backs off. And another creature grabs Wilson Friels and carts him over his body and onto one of those tree stumps that we were looking at that's coming up out of the ground. And it goes right through him. And he drops his canteen into the water symbolically. Daniel E. Spring, the director, believes in symbolism in his movies. He wants symbolism in his movies. So there's the symbolic, you never should have had that. Marta is freaking out. She's screaming. She's got creatures all around her. And they are just gnarly nasty, but they keep their distance because she has that magic urn and she fills it up with the waters so that she can take it back to Brinson. And she's probably just as surprised as anybody else that these monsters are not touching her, and I don't think she realizes why.
That is exactly the face that I would make in this circumstance. I mean, it's almost uncanny, but
I think that's exactly the face that anybody would make, even me, in a situation where you're surrounded by these things.
She's the
these
face of a
sloth-like monsters.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty freaky stuff, and I'm a cryptozoologist myself, so I'm an expert on this type of thing, and I can tell you, there's nothing that can prepare you for beholding a species like this.
Understood.
I mean, just look at it. It's a face only a mother could love, right, General?
Yeah, a face that only a mother can love. True enough. Here's another little tidbit for you. Only 2 suits were made for this movie. So all of these monsters that you're seeing around her, they did it with clever camera work. There's only two monsters per shot. So with some tricky camera swinging back and forth, it looks like there's like 8 or 9 monsters around her, and there's just 2. Penland told me that. So she runs back towards camp. Kliger is already busted. He's already busted on the trail. He's not sticking around for more monsters. So she's running back towards camp. She runs into Kliger. They run back towards the camp together. She's got the water in the urn. She's still freaking out that the monsters didn't kill her, but they killed everybody else. And she trips and falls right at the edge of camp and at the feet of a Calusa Indian. And I think his name is David Midthunder. Give me one more second here. Yes, David Midthunder was the Calusa warrior in this. He was a very impressive looking Indian. He really was. And he's a legit Native American. So, and he stops her, takes the urn. Kliger's like, hey, okay, whatever. He has to back off from the spear. She's like, my husband needs that. He's dying. Please don't take it away. And then this old guy brings Brinson out, and Brinson's okay. He's all better because they've already given him the water. So he gives Brinson back to his wife. And the old guy takes the urn, puts it in his clothes, moves back to the tribe where the tribe is. They don't want them taking that water out of that area. She's happy to have her husband back. He's still alive. He's well. Allison Adams has a beautiful smile. She really does. So who's the old guy? You're probably saying to yourself around this time. Is that Jack Nicholson? Who the hell is that? Penland told me that the bootleg video box for this movie in China in 2004 had Jack Nicholson's face on the guy's body in it. And they told me that. He told me that. So she's like, who is that? And he's like, I'm not sure. And the guy flips a coin at him. And it's an old Spanish conquistador coin. So it's like, Fontaneda? That's about how he says it, Fontaneda? And he just smiles at him, and he's like 450 years old, and he's still living, and he feels still spry. So yeah, he goes back with the Indians, and they kind of go back. That's actually David Midthunder's wife and child. They were in the movie too. Penland told me that. And they kind of disappear back into the woods. and it's a very ominous scene. And that's how the dealing with the monster ends, because the monster doesn't come after him after that for some reason. Probably the clue in it. The clue in is told the monster, don't go after him. So they're sitting there talking about, okay, when the boat arrives, the airboat arrives, what are we going to say? Okay, we're going to say that they died in an accident where we tried to make a makeshift raft to get away, and the raft turned over in alligator infested waters, and that's what happened to everybody. And Klieger's like, whoa, this would have made a great story. And of course, Klieger has told somebody at the very end of the movie about it, and they're like, oh yeah, we've just sent troops out there now. What? After what I've told you? And that's how the film ends. Originally, Penland had wanted to have a shot of the night, the forest at night, and you hear machine gun fire and people screaming. But that didn't happen for some reason. So I guess they didn't want to go back and shoot that. So that's how the film ends, with Klieger going, what? After what I've told you, you're sending people back out there? And that's how it ends. And then we get the end credits. So that is the timeline for the Florida filmed artisan film Deadly Species. Thank you for joining us for this.
Written by Rory Penland.
Written by Rory Penland originally, and then also by Bill Suchy, directed by Daniel E. Springen, who directed a lot of other things. And I think this was his only directed film that he did in the horror genre. Training film, I should say. Yeah. So there it is. It still can be found if you look on Amazon and eBay. You can still find it. You might be able to find it on YouTube. I don't know. I really haven't looked myself to see if it's on YouTube now for free. I mean, it might be. I don't know. Good luck. Good luck with that. Good luck finding it. It's getting rarer and rarer. So this was our 50th episode, and we hope Rory Penland appreciates the fact that we did this for him. And again, thank you, Major Hazzard, for helping me to get this out to the media, get this out to the masses.
Well, this is just exciting. This is, of course, the 50th episode. So what a way to celebrate and have one of our dear friend, Rory Penland. He's such a creative, multi-talented man. To have his movie here, and I'm very, very impressed. It's a beautiful training film. It's probably one of the best that we've seen, to be honest. I think it's incredible. I'm very impressed.
I don't think I'd go that far.
It's definitely one of the best. I promise.
One of the critics that critiqued it called it deadly feces. So it looks good in a timeline, though. It does. It looks good in a timeline. Again, Stephen Campbell, who was the cinematographer on it, made the film look like $1 million. He really did. Again, if you can find it, it's not a bad watch. It's a fun romp. Again, it's more human story, monster wise, than monster story, but there it is.
What was the timeline between Rory? Do you think Rory's conception to actually distributing this movie?
I think he wrote it pretty quickly and just basically had it finished before Springen looked at the other script. So it wasn't long before he got it produced. It took longer for him to write the other movie, which was Revenge of the Hook, which he still has not ever had produced. Although there was a couple of times he got close, he said. But
I've read that script. It's a wonderful script. It's an absolutely wonderful script.
So there it is. So, but it's funny how things like this come about, as kind of, you weren't expecting it, and there it is. Then now it's a training film. But the fact of the matter is they got it made, they got it out there. And again, it is accessible to the masses. They can find it if they look for it.
Absolutely wonderful.
So, and so many films don't reach that level,
Mm-hmm.
So that says a lot about Mr. Penland, the writer, and Mr. Daniel E. Springen, the director, and the producers of the film. Tracy Frankel was one of the executive producers of the film. Penland was hoping that he would come for this show. The other one was Rick Warren, who put up I think it was $40,000 or $45,000 for the movie to get it started, to get it made. A lot of it was deferred payment. That's how a lot of these get made. It's done on a handshake and a promise. but it got made again, and it's out there. So
That's
I thought
right.
we'd give a nod to him and to this movie, this training film, because it's not a bad training film, and make it our 50th episode.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations. And to all the cadets who have been here to support us all this time.
In 10 more episodes, we'll have 2 seasons wrapped up.
There you go.
So that'll be by the end of the month. And so that'll be nice. We'll have 60 episodes. So
what are we doing on Thursday?
Thursday, we'll be doing Aliens, James Cameron's sequel to the Alien film by Ridley Scott, the original.
Film.
And it's, I'll be honest with you, I've done 700 screenshots for that film for the timeline. I don't know how I'm going to get that down to 150 slides, but it's going to be a hell of a good looking timeline because I got a lot of pictures to sift through for that one.
A very visually stimulating film.
Yeah, it's probably the best in the Alien series. They got like really dark and creepy after that one. It's probably the funnest one as far as, they send the military out to deal with the aliens and they think they're all badass and everything. They get to these aliens, and just like Ripley's told them, you better watch your ass because these things are badass.
Yeah.
And all hell breaks loose. This is the director's cut that I'm doing. So you actually might see things that you didn't see when you saw it in the theater. For instance, Newt, the little girl character in the film, her father is the one who gets infected and brings the creature back to the colony, which is in the director's cut, but not in the theatrical release.
Okay.
So yeah, there it is. So I hope to see you on Thursday for that. And again, until then, keep an eye out for those big monsters.
Big monsters. Thank you, everybody.
And swamp monsters.
There you go. That's right. Bye, everybody.